Okay, last section in Unit 1, and it's the hardest one. It will take you the longest. It's not hard. You have to break it apart into sections, each problem, but each problem takes a while, and there's a lot of room for you to make mistakes. But all it does is combine everything you've already learned into problems with multiple steps. And you have to know the order of operations, which is PEMDAS, parentheses or any other grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication and division, left to right, addition and subtraction, left to right. So the way I tell my students to set this up is to make a plan. So this has two operations. It has a plus and a division. So we need to decide which one comes first. Well, this is our order of operations, and we have a parentheses, so that's what we have to do first. So I make a little 1 up there, and then I'll do the division second. So I have a two-step problem here, so I stay organized. So part 1 is 3 plus 5 and 5/13, which is super easy. That's just 3 and 5/13. All right, part 2 is that answer divided by 4 and 12/13. Okay, so that one's a little harder. I've got to change both to improper fractions, and then I have to invert and multiply. But remember, I don't actually multiply yet, I factor first. So this is 3944 over 13 divided by, what's 13 times 4? 52, 62, 64 over 13. So now I invert this guy and multiply. And fortunately, look, I have a 13 on the top and a 13 on the bottom. So before I go any further, I can go ahead and cancel them. 44 is 2 times 22, which is 2 times 11. 64 is 2 times 32, which is 2 times 16, which is 2 times 8, which is 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 8 times 8. Yep. Okay. So 2 pairs of 2's will cancel. And I'm left with 11 on the top and 4 times 4 or 16 on the bottom. So none of that is anything you haven't already done. It's just staying organized and knowing what order to do things and knowing that staying organized with your steps. So let's enter that answer and go from there. All right, this one is going to have 3 things that we're going to need to do. And because of our order of operations, we know we have to do the parentheses first. So I'm going to do this guy first, then this guy, and then last, I'm going to do that division. So I make my plan first, and then I just do the 3 problems. So first is 5/6 minus 3/4. And I remember when I add and subtract, I have to have a common denominator. I can use the ladder method if I don't know off the top of my head that the common denominator is 12. 6 times 2, so 5 times 2. 4 times 3, so 3 times 3. 10 minus 9 is 1. So there's the answer to part 1. Part 2. 1/6 plus 3/10. Again, I need a common denominator. I'm building my house here. The common denominator between 6 and 10 is 30. If you don't know that by looking at them, that is totally fine. Just do the ladder method. 6 times 5, so 1 times 5. 10 times 3, so 3 times 3. 5 and 9 is 14. All right, step 3. Answer to 1 divided by answer to 2. Answer to 1 was 1/12. Divided by answer to 2, 14/30. Now, what I notice with 14/30 is that I can reduce that. But if I don't notice that right away, it's fine. I'll reduce it in the next step. Division means invert and multiply, so 1/12 times 30 over 14. And before I multiply, I factor first. So 30 is 3 times 10, which is 2 times 5. 12 is 2 times 6, which is 2 times 3, and 14 is 2 times 7. So I can cancel with a pair of 3s and a pair of 2s and nothing else. There's only a 5 left on the top and no 5s on the bottom. So my numerator is 1 times 5. My denominator is 2 times 1 times 1 times 2 times 7. So 4 times 7 is 28. So again, not that hard, but you have to stay organized, and each problem takes quite a bit of space and time. And there's a lot of room for you to make a careless error in there, so that can be frustrating. Just keep practicing, keep trying similar, All right, 5 over 28. Let's do 2 or 3 more. Okay, so if I need to know what these words mean here. Quotient means divide. Subtracted from, product means times. Okay, and subtracted from means I need to do it in the other order. If I say 8 subtracted from 10, what that means is 10 minus 8, right? 8 subtracted from 10 means start with 10, take away 8. So you've got to start with this guy. So I'm going to write that guy first. The product, 3.5. Product means times, 1 3/5. And from that, I'm going to subtract the quotient. So 7/10 divided by 1/5. So I forgot to turn my email off. So my plan is to do the parentheses first. So I'm going to do this guy first, this guy second, and then the subtraction third. Probably going to run out of room here. Heads up. All right. So part 1 is 3.5 times 1 3/5. And to multiply mixed numbers, remember, you have to change them to improper fractions. So 2 times 3 is 6, 7 halves times 8/5. And instead of multiplying, we factor. So 7 times 2 times 2 times 2. 8 is 3 2s. So 1 2 is going to cancel. And I'm going to be left with 7 times 4 over 5. There's answer number 1. Number 2, the division, 7/10. I'm going to flip and multiply. So 7 times 5 over 5 times 2 times 1. 5's cancel, and I get 7 over 2. So step 3 is the answer to 1 minus the answer to 2. So 1 was 28/5. 2 was 7 halves. To subtract, I need my wholes to be the same, my denominators. They are going to become 10. If you can't do that in your head, that is totally fine. Use the ladder method. 5 times 2, 28 times 2, 40, 56. And 2 times 5, 7 times 5, 35. 56 minus 35, I can't do that in my head. Maybe you can. 21. And it doesn't tell me, it says write the solution as a mixed number or a fraction, so I should be able to leave it like that. And in my head, I'm changing 21 to 3 times 7 and 10 to 5 times 2 to check if there's any canceling. And there's no canceling, so 21/10 is my final answer. Let's see. Excellent. I think we have time for one more. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay. So PEMDAS, parentheses, and then within the parentheses I need to do, and then I need to do the exponent. So I've got to do what's in the parentheses first. Then I do that exponent, and then I do this division. So that's my plan. So first is 2 plus 2.5. That's super easy. That's just 4.5, right? 2 cups plus 2 cups and a half cup is 4.5 cups. Now I got to square that. What that means is use that 4.5 as a factor 2 times. So it's going to be 4.5 times 4.5. To do that, I've got to convert them to improper fractions. So 9 halves times 9 halves, and that'll be 81 over 4 because there's no canceling. Step 3 is to do 5 1/7 divided by the answer to step 2. Okay, to do multiplication or division of mixed numbers, I got to change them to improper. So that becomes 36 over 7. This guy is already improper, so I need to change to multiplication and flip to the reciprocal. And I need to factor. 36 is 3 times 18. No, 2 times 18. And 18 is 2 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. Oops, and 4 is another 2 2s up there. 7's prime, 81 is 9 times 9, so it's 4 3s. Again, feel free to use your factor trees. I'm just going quickly here so the videos don't run out of time. So I can cancel none of the 2's, but I can cancel 2 of the 3's. So what I'm left with here on the bottom is 7 times 1 times 1 times 3 times 3. So 7 times 9. And on the top, I'm left with 4 times 4. And I know I can't reduce that any further because if I couldn't reduce it here, I can't reduce it here. 16 over 63. Did we get it right? Yes. All right. Average, you're going to add them up and divide by how many there are. So you would add those 3 numbers and then divide your answer by 3. And the rest of them are going to be versions of what we've already done. So I'm not going to repeat. I'm not going to make you watch again. It's going to be the same sorts of things here. So I'll do this one more. How about that? 9. Okay, so I have 2. I have subtraction and division. So I need, because of my order of operations, division comes before subtraction. So I need to do this guy first. And then I do this guy. So 8/15 divided by 6 over 1 is 8/15 times 1 over 6. Factor. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 15 is 3 times 5. 6 is 3 times 2. Excuse me. A pair of 2's is all that will cancel. So that's going to give us 4 over 45, right? 3 times 3 is 9, times 5 is 45. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is subtract that from 9. I like to stack it vertically. So I need to write, this is 9 over 1, right? I need a common denominator, so I need it to be over 45. So if I do this times 45, I got to do this times 45. So come over here, 45, 9. 9 times 4 is 36, 40. So 405. So 405 over 45 minus 4 is 401 over 45. So I'm doing in my head my test to see if I can reduce it. 45 is 3 times 3 times 5, right? 9 times 5. Yeah. So I only care if a 3 or a 5 go into my 401. Well, 5 doesn't because it doesn't end in 5 or 0. And remember the test for 3 is 4 plus 0 plus 1. Since 3 does not go into 5, 3 does not go into 401. So it's going to be 401 over 45. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Hopefully this is enough for you to see. And believe me, you are going to have to do a lot of repetition here. You should do try similar and repeat things until you can do them very smoothly, very quickly on your own without any help from me or notes or anything like that. All right, good luck.